What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs are in a really interesting position, right? Because they are much better than they were last season. I mean, they already have almost as many wins as they did total last season. We're not even at the midway point, right? Good young team, good young talent. Dealing with a couple injuries right now, but Castle's been everything that you wanted to see and then some, right? Champagny has really evolved in that legit 3-and-D wing. He's having an excellent season. Jeremy Sohan is having a really good season. He's dealt with his injuries and stuff, but he was starting to appear to be the guy that the Spurs were so high on and wanted him to be. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama is ridiculous. Chris Paul has fit in just seamlessly. He's a guy, he talked about why he went to the Spurs. He wants to play, young team, he kind of mentor and stuff like that. Also said he has a year or two. If you're the Spurs, you keep him as long as you can, right? If you can turn Chris Paul into the Udonis Haslem role, 5 years from now, and he's taking up a roster spot and you're paying him, $2-3 million a year, but it's worth it. What he brings to that team is just so immeasurable. It's so valuable beyond his production on the basketball court. He's still being very productive out there on the basketball court, nearly averaging a double-double. Him and Wemby are just continuing to develop that chemistry. Right? Chris Paul is huge for this team, but even in just that mentor role, be the extension of that team, be the extension of the head coach, right? And then maybe even eventually transition him into a coaching position, right? With his IQ and just the way that he sees the game. But he's just so valuable for these young guys. You got to keep him as long as possible. Went and got Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes having a great season for them. You got these vets that have came in, really kind of changed the mold and landscape for the Spurs, right? This isn't a season of championships, right? This is the season of growing, developing, kind of evolving, right? They are where Houston and OKC were, a couple seasons ago, right? And now look where they are. They're the two teams top of the Western standings, right? Got some key vets, got some key pieces, right? Young guys really grew, developed, kind of went through their lumps, right? If the Spurs can kind of get into that play-in spot, perfect. Right? Even if they lose in the first play-in game, right? Let's say they get the 10th seed and they're eliminated, just to get that experience of playoff level basketball, right? Get some confidence going into next season, maybe make some minor moves, some minor tweaks, or guys just elevate and get better. You could be in the top 4 of the standings, just like Houston, just like an OKC, right? Spurs right now, my 3 favorite young teams, teams on the rise: OKC, Houston, and Spurs, in that order. Right, I just think OKC, you got to give them that one spot. Houston, I think, is really close behind. They're insanely deep, talented. They got some pieces, right? Spurs are right there, right? The only reason I have OKC and Houston there is because, one, they've been together longer. They have more experience, more depth, more things, right? Spurs are getting there. Like I said, Spurs are where they were a couple seasons ago. In season or two, I could see the Spurs right there in that conversation with those teams, right in the thick of it. But there is a kind of this question that I've talked about before and I've thrown out before of should the Spurs look to be a little more aggressive, right? They clearly have a plan. They clearly have a path. And yes, there is a huge argument to stay the course. But do you kind of be and look to see what's about? I don't think that they should go and trade for a Jimmy Butler or anything like that, right? Be selective, right? You have a path, you have a course, you can stay on that course. But if you can get a better, if you're as long as you get to the end result, which is championship, right? It doesn't matter how you get there. Right, as long as you get there, right? So right now they are on this path right there. But if you can skip and get there, why wouldn't you want to do that? Right? It depends on the stars, right? But also, do you start looking to kind of get maybe some more higher end mid-tier guys, right? Even not anybody crazy, right? Even a Cody Martin is available. Veteran, 29 years old, 6'6", having, great defensive season, guy that's known, just dirty work guy, do the dirty work, hard hustle play guy, not really a great three-point shooter, but just, again, another veteran to add to your bench depth, give you some perimeter defense, give you some different looks, right? Do you even just kind of add some, little nuanced veteran pieces? Think of what Houston did, Jeff Green and, Dylan Brooks and guys like that. Do you kind of go get your version of that, right? And kind of just really have this balance of youth and vets, right? Your key vets can be, or your key youth guys can be like Castle, Wemby, Sohan, Vassell, and then, Champagne if you want. But then, add another vet or two that makes sense, that can fill a role, that can fill a void. Now you have, say, Cody Martin. You go get like a veteran center, right? Like you go plug in a guy and go get a guy that can come in, right? Maybe kind of upgrade Zach Collins, and like a backup productivity role. In a perfect world, you go get like a Kessler or something like that. I like the idea of like a Kessler. That would be great, or like a Nick Richards or something like that. But like, can you even just go get like a serviceable backup center, right? Maybe sort of a veteran one that you can kind of come in, plug, play, have be out there on the bench, kind of give you some more production. Maybe you could even slot alongside Victor Wembanyama, right? Kind of just add 2 or 3 more pieces. I don't hate the idea of like a swing, like a big trade, like taking a big swing, but you got to wait for the right star, right? Like I just think Brandon Ingram, you can make an argument for, but I don't hate the idea. I've talked about Brandon Ingram to the Spurs before. I don't hate it, but his injury history, like he wants like 40, 50 million a year. He's just not worth that. If you get him for like, 4 years, 100 million, right? Kind of add that guy. Sure. Like, okay, maybe we're talking, you probably don't have to sell the farm to go and get that, right? Like, what do you do with Atlanta's pick? Atlanta has, you have Atlanta's first round pick, but Atlanta's been pretty good. Do you kind of look to maybe use that to go get, just to get in a higher impact? It doesn't have to necessarily be a star. I think they need to be patient and wait. I like the idea because Wemby is so cheap and so good right out the gate, and he's still going to be cheap for 2 more seasons. He makes like 13 and some change next season, and then like I think 16 million the season after that. He is so good and so cheap right now that you can do things and have the luxury that other teams just don't have. Like you can be a little more aggressive because again, if you can get that star or two to parallel Wemby, and you just have this like stacked roster because all your young guys are just like dirt cheap, and Wemby, who's already a top 15, 20 guy in the league, is on basically a role player salary. Like you're huge. Like you could be looking great, right? Like you might be able to squeeze out and potentially even win a championship or two, right? Before Wemby starts making the real money, starts making the real bag. I do think that there is a genuine argument there. None of the options right now, in my opinion, are worth it. Like Zach LaVine, Cam Johnson, Jimmy Butler, right? None of those guys really make sense. You're hoping that like a Phoenix ends up just imploding again in the playoffs, losing the first round, and then like a KD or a Devin Booker, right? One of them end up being on the table to be traded. It's like, man, even KD, I know under KD's age, but just his versatility won't take away from Wemby, right? To get that star, raise your ceiling. Him and Wemby would just be unfair on many occasions. And then if you still have like Chris Paul, willing and dealing, making plays, doing stuff, that team would be tough, right? So, or Devin Booker, it's like, man, we can get that star, kind of upgrade the 2 spot, right? Vassell, he's solid, but he's not Devin Booker, right? If you go get like a Devin Booker, right? Like if the right star, Giannis, if he becomes available, you make that swing, that big push, try to go get a Giannis, right? The right guy becomes available. Until then, stay the course. But I do like the idea of kind of like, tweaking a little bit, right? Just minor little, like I said, get a Cody Martin, get a, even like a Dorian Finney-Smith would make some sense, right? Like get these guys that can come in, kind of fill in some holes, give you some veteran leadership, give you some veteran positioning, right? Like, and kind of raise the ceiling a little more for the Spurs. Again, you're not probably winning a championship doing anything like that, but I think you can continue to take some strides, guys that can be around for a couple more seasons, kind of start carving out that balance. Because again, you look at Houston, look at OKC. They have a nice balance. Yes, they have a ton of youth, ton of athleticism, ton of just really quality young talent, but they also have veterans. They also have, a handful of guys that can come in, play a role, and understand their role. Maybe look at like Caruso and Hartenstein, those acquisitions that they were able to pick up. You look at Houston with, Jeff Green and Adding in a Dylan Brooks and a Fred VanVleet and guys like that, right? Just gives you that nice foundation, a nice balance of youth and veteran leadership. You need that. You need that balance. A team of a bunch of young guys doesn't always get you there. You need to have that balance. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Fast question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Agree with me? Disagree with me? Kind of mix in the middle? Do you think like, nah, just stay pat, don't do nothing, let the trade deadline come and go, or do you like the idea like, yeah, go get some minor moves, nothing crazy, right? Or do you think that they should go make a swing? Do you think that they should go get a Jimmy Butler or something like that? Make a big push for one of those guys. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, either way, I would love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.